Hi everyone, it's Katrina. Sometimes things fall from the sky that aren't really supposed to. From animals falling to mysterious meat, here are 9 unbelievable types of rain. Number 9. Frogs. Turns out frogs are raining down from the sky. People have reported unexplainable rain showers of frogs for centuries. During a storm in 1873, Kansas City, Missouri was pelted with frogs. Then, in 1901, frogs and toads blanketed Minneapolis during a storm, leaving behind a 3-inch thick layer of amphibians across 4 city blocks. Yikes. Could you imagine? Nobody can get to work today because there's frogs in the road. In 1981, residents of Nafplion, Greece awoke to small frogs plopping down from above. The Greek Meteorological Institute concluded that a strong wind picked the frogs up before dumping them down into the city. But the frog species is native to Africa, making the theory a tad far-flung. There are dozens of accounts of incidents like these, and many were written off as amphibians falling from overhead places like trees rather than the sky. It's scientifically possible that some of these events were actually caused by strong weather events such as whirlwinds and tornadoes. Some people disagree, including Charles Fort, an early collector of reports of strange phenomena who found it odd that nobody ever reported frogs missing from their pond or seeing them being swept up by the wind. How did they get into the sky in the first place, and how often does this actually happen? People probably don't report the frogs because they are more focused on their own safety at the time, but Fort's claims are a reminder that the phenomenon lacks some scientific proof. Number 8. Fish. Reports of raining fish are as numerous as those regarding frogs. While some incidents may be explained by powerful weather, others involved fish that seemed too heavy to be picked up by a strong wind or occurred out of nowhere on a clear day. During a 1966 downpour, a large fish fell onto an Australian priest as he ran across a courtyard. In 1989, 800 sardine-like fish rained into some Australians' yards during a light drizzle. Perhaps the most bizarre report of all happened in 1956, when an Alabama couple watched a dark cloud form, followed by a shower of various species of live fish, including catfish and bream. In 1861, much of Singapore experienced a rainfall of fish after an earthquake, pointing to a correlation between the events. The strong gusts that are characteristic of tornadoes and other major storms are often capable of flipping over entire cars. Taking this into consideration, it seems plausible that the weather is responsible for these mysterious events, but again, nobody knows for sure what causes them. Number 7. The Kentucky Meat Shower. Residents in Bath County, Kentucky received an unpleasant surprise in 1876 when chunks of foul-smelling flesh poured from overhead. Now that's super gross and weird. A man named Alan Crouch recounted the incident, which occurred while his wife was outside making soap. The meat, which looked like beef, fell all around her, he said. The sky was perfectly clear at the time, and she said it fell like large snowflakes. The meat tasted like mutton or venison, according to 2 people who were brave enough to sample it. Would you? Let me know in the comments. I wouldn't. Rumors swirled, including one that claimed the meat was the lung tissue of a baby or horse, a theory that at least 2 histologists or tissue experts backed up. Other scientific analyses yielded mixed results, including that the meat was cartilage or muscle tissue from an unknown animal. One Dr. L.D. Kastenbein concluded that the rainfall of flesh resulted from the coordinated regurgitation of meat by a flock of vultures flying overhead, and this remains the most credible theory. It even explains the meat's distinctively rancid odor, which is to be expected with the vulture's diet of carrion. There are 2 vulture species in Kentucky which are known for vomiting their food as a defense mechanism or to lighten themselves for flight, indicating that the residents were most likely the victims of bad timing. But still, another reason to not taste random meat that falls from the sky. And now for number 6, but first a quick shout out to some of our awesome subscribers. Love you too! If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell to join the Origins Explained family. We'd love to have you! Number 6. Blood rain. There have been many reports of terrifying blood red rain throughout history. At times, it was blamed on a biblical plague or considered a bad omen. That definitely seems like a bad omen to me. People began looking for more logical explanations during the 19th century. The term blood rain refers to rain carrying fine desert sand or other particles that are often reddish in color, leaving behind a similarly hued dust. Blood rain can travel pretty far. The UK is known for occasionally receiving it after storms in the Sahara Desert, 2,000 miles away. The rain's color varies depending on the color of the sand picked up by the storm. Besides the UK, blood rain is fairly common in other parts of Europe and the world, including southern France and Spain, and sometimes reaching as far as Scandinavia. In 2001 in India, blood rain fell during a monsoon and continued intermittently for several weeks. It was reportedly strong enough to stain fabric and varied in color, including red, green, black, yellow, and brown. Investigations revealed that it was probably caused by dust from the Arabian Peninsula. Last year, the remote Siberian city of Norilsk experienced blood rain after the wind collected rust particles from a factory cleanup. So, as terrifying as it may look, blood rain is relatively harmless. Number 5. The Oakville Blob. Oakville, Washington is no stranger to rain, which falls on the small town 275 days a year. Therefore, when it began raining early one August morning in 1994, residents regarded it as just another ordinary day, until they realized that it was raining gelatinous blobs. The torrential downpour of goo covered around 20 square miles and fell 6 more times over the next 3 weeks. Many people experienced harsh flu-like symptoms lasting anywhere from 7 weeks to 2 or 3 months, resident Beverly Roberts explained in a 1997 episode of Unsolved Mysteries. The show also interviewed Officer David Lacey, who claimed that the slime smeared all over his car windshield when he turned the wipers on. The substance was very mushy, almost like if you had Jell-O in your hand, he said. Microbiologist Mike McDowell from the Washington Department of Health tested samples and asserted in several interviews that he believed the substance was unnatural in origin. The samples contained 2 organisms known to cause severe illness, but before anyone else could test them, they conveniently disappeared. When McDowell asked where the samples were, staff responded by saying, "Don't ask." He believes the slime was manufactured, but nobody ever determined what it was or how it ended up in the rain clouds above Oakville. Number 4. Corn husks. In August 2001, households east of Wichita, Kansas reported rainfalls of large brown corn husks, which reoccurred sporadically for a week. One resident named Paul Korn, no pun intended, recalled seeing an unusual cloud while outside spending time with his family. Suddenly, these large corn husks started to spiral down from the sky, he told the Daily Nebraskan. They blanketed the family's pool and yard as well as the rest of the neighborhood. It wasn't just a few here and there, Korn said, it was a significant number. He reported the incident to a local newspaper that received dozens of phone calls from residents throughout the region who had also experienced the corn husk showers. Meteorologists initially suspected a tornado, only to discover that there was no tornado activity in the area when the rainfalls occurred. The most likely culprit was thermal activity, which acts as a miniature whirlwind and is capable of picking up and redispersing lightweight objects. Weird, right? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Number 3. Worms. On a calm, clear day in 2011, earthworms rained down on Scottish schoolchildren while they played soccer. Sounds like a tongue twister. The worms fell in tangled bunches, softly thudding against the ground as they hit the earth and forcing the kids to end their game early. Teacher David Crichton and his co-workers recovered around 120 worms after the incident, and the school's science department failed to come up with a rational explanation for it. Similar events were reported decades earlier in Massachusetts, Norway, and Sweden. Then, in 2015, thousands of earthworms landed on the frozen ground in Norway. Biologist Karsten Erstad encountered the mess, which contained an estimated 20 worms per square meter. At first, he thought they were dead, but he picked them up and realized that they were very much alive. Erstad couldn't explain the situation despite his profession as a biologist. The most likely explanation is that the worms were picked up by a thermal or rising pocket of warm air near the coast and that they fell back to the earth as rain. Number 2. Golf balls. Ouch! Golf balls poured down on a neighborhood in Punta Gorda, Florida one night in 1969 during what was otherwise a normal rainfall. The St. Petersburg Times reported that dozens and dozens and dozens of them were in the gutters, on the street, along the sidewalks, and at Punta Gorda Isles. Several members of law enforcement attempted to collect the balls, but eventually tired of doing so because there were so many. No local golf courses were missing any balls, and little came of the incident. The The most probable culprit was a storm that sucked the balls out of a pond and redistributed them around town, given the regularity of extreme weather on Florida's western Gulf Coast. But this has never been proven. Number 1. Money. Finally, right? The one thing most of us wish would fall from the sky actually has for a lucky few throughout history. In 1940, 16th century rubles rained down on the Russian village of Mechera. Archaeologists determined that erosion exposed the hoard of cash from wherever it was buried, and the wind picked it up. Pennies mysteriously fell over Kent, England for 15 minutes in 1968. Many of them were bent, but nobody ever figured out why. A large sum of cash totaling between $544,000 and $817,000 descended into Kuwait City in 2015. The rainfall consisted mostly of 500 AED notes, which are primarily used in the United Arab Emirates, not Kuwait, and continued for several minutes, stopping traffic as people flocked to grab up what they could. No source was ever found, and nobody stepped forth to claim the money. Similar incidents have occurred in Massachusetts, France, Chicago, Germany, and elsewhere, and only some of them have been explained. In any case, look up, because you never know when money might just fall from the sky. Thanks for watching! Have you ever experienced weird rain? Which one did you think was the strangest? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and join Origins Explained. See you next time! Bye!